f of x, 3x plus 5, and you want to find the inverse. First of all, what does f of x mean? It's just y. That's all it is. F of x is another name for y. So if they give you a name, a lot of times they'll write it with y equals, but if they don't, you change it to y equals so we can solve it. So inverse means the x and the y switch in the equation or in the graph. So you just switch it. Wherever the x is, you make it y, and wherever the y is, you make it x. You leave all coefficients and all exponents alone. So if it was x squared, then it becomes y squared. Fair enough? So nothing difficult. Now you solve for y. How do you get y by itself? Subtract 5. So you get x minus 5, and then you're going to, so you have this. X minus 5 equals 3y. What do you do next? By 3. So this is the inverse. Now when they ask you to graph, do you remember how to graph a line? Because they'll ask you to graph both. How do you graph 3x plus 5? Start at 5, because that's your y-intercept. Up 3, right 1. And draw in your line. Okay. How do you graph x minus 5 over 3? What would be your first instinct? What should you do to it?
I would start at -5, 3. I'll start at -5.
No. Instead of dividing the whole thing by 3, can you make it look better? X minus 5 divided by 3 means what? Y equals, no, equals 1/3 x minus 5/3. It's easier to change 5/3 to a decimal because it's easier to graph. What's 5/3 as a decimal?
It's
1.67. Fair enough? So you go up 1.67, put your dot, go up 1 over 3, and draw your, oh, I did it wrong. You go down 1.67, up 1 over 3, draw your line. Good so far? The way to tell if you are correct is when you do, one way. Another way is when you're done graphing them, they are always symmetrical around the y equals x line. So whatever's on one side of the y equals x will always be on the other. It's just a quick check. The other thing is, so like, I drew this bad. So if 0, 5 is on this line is going to have 5, 0. So this should have been this way. All of your numbers are actually reversed. It's just a quick check to make sure everything's right. All good? Okay. A little bit harder, but not much. This gives you an x squared, so you got to remember your transitions. So how do you graph x squared minus 2? You have to remember that. All right? So I'll let you go. Step 1. To find your inverse, what's your first step? What do? Change the x's and the y.
X equals y squared minus 2.
Okay, now solve for y. Add 2.
Square root.
And then we take the square root. Now because we're taking the square root, what goes in front of it? Plus or minus. So this time are we going to have the top and the bottom half of our parabola? Yes. So where does he start? Do you remember your transition?
I do not.
Yeah.
-2. Because he's with the x, so we always do opposite. So we start at -2. Is there any stretch or anything on him?
No.
Nope. So it's up 1 over 1. We have the bottom and the top half. And there is your
Full.
Wait, why is it Barbie?
That's wicked.
because it's a square root.
Oh, yeah.
The square roots are sideways.
Right.
Yeah, remember those two here. Good? Okay, next question. James, get that?
Do you think you could draw my graph for me?
Draw your graph for you.
Because I'm
Graph,
not
you
confused.
graph, you need?
Like, like go that way?
Yes. Just get that here to here.
Okay, because I
Okay. All right. Are we ready? Okay, inverses are not difficult. One thing to remember about inverses, so if 1, 2 is on the first graph, what's going to be on the inverse graph?
2, 1, 2.
1, because you're switching the x's and the y's. So 3, 7, I better get 7, 3. 6, 5, I'm going to get 5, 6. Easy enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so your range becomes your domain, and your domain becomes your range. Okay. I forgot to ask. Are they both functions? How do we tell? Because some of you messed that up on the quiz. Yeah, every x is different. If every x is different, it is a function. Okay, your turn.
not a
Find the inverse, tell me if it's a function. So your set of points is 2, 5, 2, 6, 3, 4, and the answer is no, because you have 2, 2. All good?
Yeah.
There you
2 2's that are x's, we should specify. Go ahead. Did I answer it? Okay, what you need?
What?
Did you find your notes?
No. I'm just looking.
No, then you write by hand. Keep going.
You don't turn off any extras?
Not this late in the season.
Season?
Pretty much, we got one section left.
Well, I lost.
All right, not all inverses of functions are functions. What we just found out up here. When we graphed, we're back here. All right, what's the first one a function? X squared minus 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, passes the vertical line test, correct? What about the second one?
No.
No, because it doesn't pass the vertical line test. So pretty much in here, one's not going to be a function. Square roots, right? Well, cube roots be functions. Yes, because they do not double repeat. So we don't have a lot. So the only thing we have right now that would not be a function is a square root. When we get later on, can you think of any other shape that would not give you a function?
Trapezoid. That one it? That's right.
Why? How about circles, ellipses, and hyperbolas?
Trapezoid.
Perhaps. You guys are so funny. Alright,
Put trapezoid.
so here square roots will not be a function because your x gives you 2. And you're done. Now, the second way, they will give you 2 functions, f of x and g of x. And they will ask you if they are inverses of each other. You have 2 methods to find this out. The first one is what we just did. So I could take this one, switch your x's and y's and solve it and see if it equals this one. That's method 1. All right, what you just did. The second one is you plug them into each other and you see if they equal x. So I'm going to take this here and plug it in to the x. Good so far? They're really easy. Because what's a cube and a cube root do? So this cancels this. What do the 2 and the 2 do?
Cancel.
Cancel. What's plus 1 minus 1?
0.
You got x. So the first one checks. And then you have to do it in reverse. Now you have to take x cubed minus 1 and plug it in for this x.
How good is this going to go?
Let's look. Minus 1 plus 1 cancels. 2 divided by 2
Cancel.
cancels. Cube root cancels. X. All right? So neither one are difficult. One of them's mathematically is all you have to do. All right, so they're both x's, the answer is yes. They are not both x, and the answer is no. So you have to check both of them. The minute you get one that's not an x, you're done. And no.
Fine.
Oh, I showed you one that wasn't an x. So I took x minus 3, or 4x minus 3 and plugged it in. First, you have to distribute. What do you think usually goes wrong here? They don't distribute. They want to cancel the 3 and the 4 and say it's x. And that's not right, because you have to do order of operations, right? So don't do silly things. So, distribute. Negative 12 plus 3 is 9. Does this equal x? No, so it's not a function. Are they not inverses of each other? Okay, now it's your turn.
Let's go.
Okay, do your second one.
We got Jake, we got a goal. Yeah, we
I don't
do.
know how to do this one.
Alright.
Because of the square root?
I think the
Oh,
bears
square root
coming out
x
of the
squared.
cave.
That's yes.
What's a yes?
No, plus one.
Right.
No.
Why is it no?
It's gotta be no, because the first one was yes.
No, this is not why. So you're gonna take the square root of x squared minus 1 plus the 1.
That's minus one.
It's a negative. Oh, this one does
Plus or
not
minus
so
x minus
it's
one.
gonna be no.
Does anything cancel?
Yes.
The one. No, nothing.
No.
So no.
So it's just plain no.
No.
What do you think I want you to do here that I think you're gonna mess up on?
Put an open circle with a line through it.
No. Most of you, I've been seeing this a lot. You take the square root of x squared, you say, hey, that's x, and then you say you take the square root of 1, and that's 1. Can you do that?
Yeah.
No.
Why?
Because you cannot distribute through. What is x squared minus 1, by the way? Quick review.
What?
X.
What's that factor into?
I. Imaginary
X
number.
plus or minus one?
Yeah, this is x plus 1 and x minus 1. So is that perfect squares?
No.
Nope, cannot be done.
Yeah, but the squared and the square root
No.
cancel, and then the ones cancel.
No, you cannot do that.
Why?
You cannot distribute a square root plus a negative sign. Not allowed. What is the second method you
Oh,
could
wait,
have
the
done?
answer's no because of that negative? Oh.
Here, let's try this. If I would have said y equals the square root of x plus 1, how would you done it this method? What's step 1?
I would square to the x.
No. You flipped up
Signs. X and Y.
x and
I would
y.
square the y.
So x equals the square root of y plus 1. Now what?
Subtract one.
So now x minus 1 equals,
Square root of Y.
now what?
Y.
X
minus
Now
y.
square. So this is x minus 1 quantity squared equals y. Is that the same as that? Now that.
X minus 2x plus 1.
X squared minus 2x plus 1. Does that equal this? No.
Plus one.
So the answer is no. Either way, you're going to get no. You have two ways of getting there. Are we better?
Yeah.
No.
We're still lost.
There's no y. It's just no.
I think it's
You
now.
don't have to say, you don't have to answer right.
Jake, what's the problem?
No problem, no problem.